Well, hello, everyone. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with the president of Metro State University, Ginny Arthur. Welcome, President Arthur.
Thank you so much, Peter. I'm glad to be here.
It's exciting to talk to you. Metro State is an important higher education institution in this region and for the entire state. It's the only four-year institution in the Minnesota state system that's located in the Minneapolis-Saint Paul region. And Metro State has somewhat quietly become an engine of economic inclusion and economic mobility for our economy. So when we talk about driving inclusive economic growth and creating an economy based on racial equity, Metro State is very much a part of that solution. So President Arthur knows I'm a big fan of her work and her institution, and believe it's a regional asset that more employers need to be looking to for hiring. So I'm excited to have the conversation today. President Arthur, introduce us to Metro State.
All right, Peter. Well, Metro State was founded 49 years ago, so we're a relatively young university. We offer about 70 programs at the bachelor's, master's, and doctoral level. We have about 10,800 students now, so we've grown pretty substantially to a medium-sized university. Our students are not like what you would see at a traditional college or university. We are very non-traditional. The average age of the student is 31. I always like to look at the range of ages. And this semester, our youngest student is 16 and our oldest is 76 in degree granting programs. Our students are highly diverse. So more than 50% of the students are Black, Indigenous, Hispanic, Latino, or Asian American. We have a large population of Hmong students. And in fact, on the basis of the number of Hmong students we serve, we are classified federally as a minority serving institution. More than 50% of our students are Pell eligible, meaning that's the indicator of low socioeconomic status. And then about 55% of our students are the first in their family to complete a college education. So it's a really vibrant, exciting group of students to be around. On top of that, we serve more veteran students and active military students than any other university in the state system. And, you know, a couple of years ago, I remember we sent a student's degree over to Afghanistan because she'd been deployed and her commander carried out the graduation ceremony.
Well, it's an amazing set of stories. And I mean, every time we visit, or when I used to visit you and will again,
Yes.
there's always a lot of life and exciting and different things happening on campus. So as we think about what the national and global economy are doing now, we see so much change. You know, entire job occupations, you know, may be going away due to automation, and then entire new industries and occupations are being created. So, you know, as the head of Metro State, you know, what degree and certificate programs do you view in the greatest demand this year from students and employers? Where are you betting the growth is going to be, you know, for occupations? And how do you track changes in employer demand, you know, year to year?
Yeah, thank you, Peter. Well, the highest demanded programs at the university are anything related to healthcare. We have, again, nursing degree programs at the bachelor's, the master's, and the doctoral level. And our doctorate of nursing practice, we're expanding that right now because there's a need for nurse anesthetists, and this will be the only program really that's training them in the state. Anything IT is also in hot demand. And you know, maybe we can talk a little bit about our cybersecurity program later, but between last January 2019 and this summer, the openings in the cybersecurity field in the state of Minnesota tripled in size. And with everybody working remotely, this is definitely a growing field. Also, our science programs are just expanding rapidly, especially chemistry and environmental science. Biology's always been very popular, but we see big growth in those areas. And then things like social work and human services. They have traditionally had high demand, but that's increasing as well. So, you know, some of the fields where we're looking at beyond cybersecurity, which is an important growth area for us, are data analytics. You know, another field where practically every organization is trying to go through, mine their data to understand everything from what are the best, most effective medical treatments to what book you want to read next when you sign into Amazon. So that's a growing field. And, you know, environmental sciences and that area is also under development. We currently have a group that's working with us to really expand a program in outdoor recreation and management, because again, the pandemic has moved people to much greater interest in those areas. We try to keep in touch with experts in the field. And one of the things at Metropolitan State, we use what we call community faculty. And these are part-time faculty members who are professionals in their field. And we do that because we want to bring together that practice with theory. But they're a great source of information for us about how the world of work is changing, how professions are changing. I'd say almost all of our programs and our colleges have advisory boards, so we're connected to the community in that way. And you know, we keep up as well on just looking at what's the research coming out about the way work is changing. And I guess I would add there, while certain skills are certainly important, all those fields I mentioned, that what we see increasingly are employers saying, we need people who can identify and solve problems, who can work with others who are different from them racially or culturally, who can communicate well, and most importantly, who are resilient, can bounce back from things like a pandemic.
You mentioned cybersecurity, and that's a really interesting story, and it's a really unique and powerful asset for, I think, the region and the state. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And as I say, that's one of our biggest growth areas. In fact, we have a bachelor's degree in cybersecurity, and we just launched our master's degree program in cyber operations. We have a partner who has given us the equipment to set up what's called a cyber range. And this is a defense quality simulator for cyber attacks. So students or teams are coming in now, even from corporate organizations, to get upgraded skills. They're in teams, attacks are launched, and they have to, in real time, try to defend them. Of course, they're not real attacks, but that kind of hands-on learning. So our master's degree is actually in cyber operations, which is certainly built on the technical skills, but much more about how do you manage the cyber team, because it definitely takes a team to fend off an attack. One of the interesting things there is launched it during the pandemic. So our first cohort started this fall, and we had 18 students. And I know my admissions team was just telling me they have had a couple of information sessions for next semester, and they've had over 100 people. So there's a lot of interest in the field. I think, again, we see new employers coming into the state who are focusing on cyber operations. I think it's important for our area because of the number of Fortune 500 companies that we serve, and they have large operational areas here.
I see. I ask about it, and we've talked about it because the demand is so significant and it's growing so fast and it's so critical to a 21st century headquarters economy. So we're excited that that's an area of focus. Well, let's finish by taking a step back and thinking about some of the macro shifts taking place in our economy that are being accelerated by COVID, and maybe how we need to be thinking about higher education, in 21 and beyond. We've lost a net of approximately 130,000 jobs in the Minneapolis-Saint Paul region this year as of November. Those job losses have been highly concentrated in low-wage, lower-skill occupations in our regional economy, with the hospitality and service sectors being hit particularly hard. And that's true in MSP, and it's true in metros all across the US. We suspect that these jobs may be very slow to come back, and others might be automated almost completely. So as we're looking at real big structural changes happening quite quickly about where the jobs are, where the demand is, starting to wonder about what bold moves might we need to take or could take in Minnesota so we could move maybe tens of thousands of Minnesotans into better paying jobs with career stability through higher education. That's a conversation you and I have been having, and I know you've got some thoughts about that.
Yeah, and of course, I'm sure over the past years, you and other listeners have heard about things like free college programs or promise programs. And there's a whole range of how those programs are set up. But I think obviously we really need now to invest in that human capital. And one of the things that is so often ignored in any of these programs is an approach that will support those adults who have been displaced from whatever kinds of jobs they have and put them on the pathway to, prosperity, economically, better health, better outcomes for their family and for their community. And, I'm looked at a number of these programs and really admire the work that's been done in the state of Washington, another economic powerhouse in our country. And, it's targeted, it allows part-time students, it supports students with living expenses, not just tuition. And it really is a much bolder approach to how we can help people return to college. And so often it is the student of color, the low-income student, the adult learner who get derailed. And yet you look at in this pandemic, even at the height of the unemployment numbers in the state of Minnesota, the figures for those who had a bachelor's degree or better are 5 or 6 or more points lower than for any other level of education. I think right now I've seen that if you have a bachelor's degree or higher, that unemployment in the state of Minnesota is around 4.5%. That's almost not an economic crisis number. It's a little higher probably than we've experienced in the boom economy, but it's not outlandish. And we see, people who have the kinds of jobs you get with a bachelor's degree, they earn more, but they have more stability. We have 99% of our workforce at the university operating remotely from home. No one's missed any pay and no one's missed a day. So, I think it's really important to for the prosperity of the state. We lift individuals and their families, but of course, then they'll pay taxes. They will go out and consume goods and services, and that really pays off for everyone.
I appreciate that. And, we were going to look at that Washington model, and there are no doubt others out there. I mean, Tennessee, had moved to more of a P14 approach with, free community college education. Others are taking leadership, across the country, and our labor force, our workforce has always been our number one competitive advantage. And so there is an opportunity and some urgency to think about how do we invest now to maintain an edge in the 21st century? Well, and that's why higher education will continue to be so critical and why Metropolitan State University is so important now. Thank you for taking the time to talk with me today. And I know we've got a lot more work we're going to do together.
That's great, Peter. Thank you so much. Really enjoyed this opportunity.